Good. Okay, so tonight we're going to learn the halachas. We're going to review the halachas of the 3 weeks. Shiva Asar B'Tammuz, the 3 weeks. Shiva Asar B'Tammuz this year falls on Friday night. The good news is that this year we are not fasting on Shiva Asar B'Tammuz. There's no fast this year of Shiva Asar B'Tammuz. We got off the hook, but unfortunately, unless Mashiach comes, they pushed it off to the next day. So we still have to make it up on Sunday. So we're going to go through Shiva Asar B'Tammuz and a summary of halachas relating to the period of the 3 weeks. And Mitzvah, the 9 days, will cover closer to the 9 days. Before we begin, I want to review a shayla that happened this morning. I want to see what you guys are going to do. I was preparing to daven. I already had my talis gadol on. And you know, by the talis gadol of Chabad, the way it's made based on the Alter Rebbe and the Siddur, is that what's called the shamash string, the long string that you use to twist around all the other strings, we first put it through a hole on the side of the talis gadol. Is there a talis gadol here that you can pull out so I can demonstrate? Is there?
Of course.
Chabad. Yeah, this is good. So as you see, let's take here for example. This is the shamash. This string was used to round around all the strings. What happens if this string right here tore? The reason why, according to the Alter Rebbe, we do this, it's only by Chabad talis gadol. There's no other talis gadol in the world that does it. It's based on the ruling of the Alter Rebbe. It's in order to make sure that the knot and that the gedil remains in the area of the halachic corner, which is 2 centimeters up. It's between 4 and 6 centimeters up. So it has to remain between 4 and 6 centimeters up. That's why this is done. Bottom line, if this tears, what's the halakha? This can happen due to wear and tear. You know, if when you check your tzitzis in the morning, you tighten it, you should know every time you tighten it, you're thinning out the string. And eventually the string can get thinned down enough till it breaks. So what's the halacha of one of these strings over here break? And you're ready, you're middle of davening, what do you do? Is the talis kosher? Is it pasul? And if it's pasul, what do you do? So this touches upon a lot of questions. What do you guys say? Is it kosher or pasul?
I think it's kosher because that's the intonation in your voice that's hinting toward it. But I'm not.
Don't be medayik on my voice.
I'm not coming safely.
The answer is the following. According to the Alter Rebbe's final ruling, and this is the way if a string tore from anywhere over here, here and down, the whole thing's pasul.
Okay.
Even one string. So if this string tore,
what do you mean the whole thing? The whole talis or just
the whole talis? Yeah, I'm saying you can't wear the talis till you switch this and fix it. But the talis is pasul.
Didn't I say
It's an issur d'oraisa to continue wearing it. That's if it tears from anywhere here and down. Now, if all places can agree it's pasul, not just the Alter, everyone. So if it tears over here, that's it. This talis, you can't continue wearing it till it's fixed. Okay, so we take the talis off, or do we have to take it off? The halacha is that you're allowed to wear even a pasul talis that you wore when it was kosher. If taking it off would be embarrassing and shameful. This is called kavod habriyos.
Yeah.
They say sheva al tasa. We don't require you to take it off and embarrass yourself if it'll cause embarrassment. And then in these dalach, let's say the chazan. If the chazan is davening him to suddenly take off his talis gadol, be there without a talis, it's embarrassing. And the place can bring down that Itaka doesn't have to take it off. He can continue davening with it.
Yeah.
Tachlis. In such a situation when a person has to walk to a private area and then take it off there. He doesn't have to take it off. If he wants to take it off in shul, he could. He doesn't have to take it off in shul. He can walk outside the shul, go to a private area, take it off there, and then get himself a new talis. Okay, so that's what I did. I took it off in shul. I wasn't embarrassed. I took it off right there and then. And I went home, got a new talis.
It's a whole new talis or a new talis?
Well, I didn't have time to redo it. I had to have a second talis,
Right,
so I
right.
put on a second talis.
Right.
Now the question is asked, do I say a bracha on the second talis? And the answer to this question is that yes, you do have to say a bracha. Whenever you're putting on one talus after another talus, unless you had both places in mind at the time of the bracha, you have to say a new bracha. And especially here, that if you switch areas, bottom line is that here you would have to say a new bracha in such a case. So that's the bottom line what a person should do. In such a situation, a person should take off his talus. He should get himself a new talus and say a new bracha on the talus. Now, if he's in the middle of davening and everything, he can't say a bracha, it's something else. But if he's before Psukkah de Zimra, he can still say brachas. He can say the bracha about Satik V'tzitzis and to put it on. Okay.
This came up for you? This was a real life
Yeah,
example?
this happened this morning.
This morning you're saying it.
Mm-hmm.
How did it break? How did that happen?
Again, wear and tear. You know, when you strengthen it, when you tighten it, it wears and tears. This begins to...
So you just have to replace the...
This whole thing has to be replaced. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's begin. Shiva Asa B'Tammuz. Okay. Shiva Asa B'Tammuz is called in scripture in Zechariah as the fourth fast. It's meaning the fast of the fourth month. If you count from Nisan, the fourth month is Tammuz. So it's not the fourth fast, but really the fast of the fourth month. And the reason why we fast on this day is due to 5 tragedies that occurred. Says the Gemara, says the Mishnah in Tainus. The Mishnah in Tainus says 5 tragedies occurred on this day. What was the first one?
The breaching of the walls.
Whoa, you're skipping about 1,500 years. Moshe broke the luchos.
Oh, okay.
The luchos, the Egel Azav.
I was giving the most important thing that happened.
Moshe broke the luchos upon descending from the mountain and seeing the golden calf. The second thing that happened was that the carbon tamid ceased to be offered. Well, the Egel Azav was made the day before. It was made Tezayin. Well, it says he came the next day. Remember, Aaron made it, and then he said, Chagel Hashem Macha. And when did Moshe come? Yud-Zayin. So he made it Tezayin, Tammuz, and which is Friday. So Friday is the day they made the Egel Azav. Don't publicize that. Maybe they won't say Tachanan in some shows, I don't know. It says, how can you say Shiva Sabbatazma? You shouldn't say Tachanan, say Yard side of the Egel Azav. So the carbon tamid, the second thing that happens is that the carbon, even when there was a siege on Jerusalem, the carbon tamid was still brought every single day in a set basis in the temple. And the Gemara says that when the Greeks discovered, when the Babylonians discovered that this is what's keeping them safe, this is what's getting them their protection, instead of sending up sheep, they sent up, it says, swines. And that's when the carbon tamid ended, and that's how, unfortunately, the first temple was able to be destroyed. The third thing that happened is in the second temple era, that the walls of Yerushalayim were breached, in Shiva Asa B'Tammuz. The fourth thing that happened is after the destruction of the second temple, Apatiumis, the Rasha, burnt a Torah scroll on that day, and also he set up an idol in the base, in the area of the Mikdash.
He was Roman?
He was Roman. He was the Roman general or the Roman governor after the destruction of the second temple in like the year 120 after the Common Era. So what happens when the fast day falls on Shabbos? Do we have anything unique that's relevant? And the answer is not really. The bottom line is that the fast is pushed off. It's considered a tainus nidche. In any event, all those who are exempt from fasting on fast days would be exempt even if it wasn't nidche. So it makes no difference. They're anyways exempt, and they're exempt here as well. The one kula that we find is regarding the definition of sick, that even someone who's not bedridden, but he's slightly sick, can be exempt from the fast if it's a tainus nidche, as it is this year.
Oh, that's nice.
It's considered to be a severe fast or light fast.
What does that mean? How do you measure severe or light, and for what purposes?
For pregnant women.
Again, pregnant women are exempt from fasting even when it's not nidcha. So what difference does it make? A pregnant woman does not have to fast
So
on
a
a fast
sick
day.
man,
A sick man doesn't have to fast on a fast day. Nidcha or not nidcha makes no difference.
You might be asking if this one, even if it wasn't nidcha, is light or not. That's what you're asking, really, I think, right? Even if it wasn't a Sunday pushed off.
This fast is like it's like any of the other fasts, like Sarah Batavis, Sam Gedalia, which is that everyone has to fast unless you don't have to, such as you're sick, you're pregnant, you're nursing, the toil.
So the only two that are.
And when it's nidcha, we have a leniency that even if you're only a little bit sick, you don't have to fast.
Right.
So that's a leniency of this year. I think it's in the second version of the book. I think this version doesn't have that. Oh, no, it does. Yes, I did write it. Okay. Fine. This Shabbos, you have a delicious cut watermelon on your table, and you remember, wow, I never yet said Shechianu. I never yet ate watermelon this season. It's Shechianu for me. Can you say Shechianu this coming Shabbos? So this coming Shabbos is Shavuos B'Tammuz. Do we say the 3 weeks have already begun, and therefore we avoid Shechianu? Do we say, since we push off Shavuos B'Tammuz, let's push off everything else with it? So we'll push off with it as well the Minhagim, the Minhagi Avelis. So this is a machlekes in the Paiskim. It's a machlekes in the Paiskim. Some say you can say, some say you can't say. Bottom line, get in that piece of watermelon before Shabbos, Sheyu Shechianu before Shabbos. Avoid the problems, avoid the disputes. That's what is suggested. We're going to review a few of the generic halachas.
can we be in Simcha on this Shabbos?
Of course, it's a mitzvah to be b'simcha on Shabbos. What's the question?
But it's 70.
But it's pushed off.
Except for the watermelon.
On Shabbos, the internal meaning behind everything is revealed. So everything is for the good. So the internal goodness of Shavuos B'Tammuz is revealed. So it's a day of simcha. Sure.
Just gave over a long sikh with the Rebbe in 3 sentences.
When does the fast begin? Okay, we're going to do some just review. We're not going too much into this. So the fast begins by Eliza Shachar on Saturday night, okay, which is already towards Sunday morning. Look up in the calendar Eliza Shachar. You'll publicize the times, and we'll have the customary controversy that we have every single. You go to mikvah, yeah. There's no issue with going to mikvah on a fast day. There's no issue of bathing.
On that fast, yeah. On that fast.
Besides the Shabbos.
Correct, and Yom Kippur. Okay, I'm skipping most of the fast day laws because we did them recently. There's no problem.
What's that? What was your question?
No problem. Children do not fast if they are below the age of bar bas mitzvah. Somebody who forgot that it's a fast day and he began eating something or drinking something, the halacha is he still has to continue fasting. Just because he broke the fast, that's it. It's considered I didn't fast because I ate, so I can eat more. No. Every moment of a fast, you have an obligation to fast. Therefore, even if you ate or drank a little bit,
Link, please. I don't see the link.
you would still have to continue fasting. What's the problem?
The link didn't go out in the letter.
It's not working?
No, he just didn't send it out. Yeshai or your father-in-law for some reason didn't do it. I don't know how to do that.
What about music?
We're going to get to it. We're going to get to everything. Right now, we're just doing Shavuos B'Tammuz, and then we're going to go straight to the 3 weeks. As on any fast, you are not allowed to rinse out your mouth or brush your teeth or use Vaseline unless your mouth feels really disgusting and it's very much bothering you. If it's very much bothering you, then it's permitted. Okay, we're going to skip straight to the 3 weeks itself. And so it's as follows. We have a number of, since the beginning of the destruction, or the preparatory steps for the destruction occurred in Shavuos B'Tammuz. So therefore, we already have minhagi avelis, minhagim of mourning, similar to the mourning that a person does when a relative passes away. We are mourning Yerushalayim, mourning the temple that we begin doing from the start of the preparatory stages of destruction, which is Shiva Asar B'Tammuz. So therefore, the minhag is that there's a number of restrictions that begin to apply. Most of them are Ashkenazi restrictions. Sephardim never accepted it upon themselves. We will go through the differences momentarily, but they go through a number of stages. Stage number one is from the beginning of the 3 weeks, which is this year falls out on Shabbos, Sunday, Matzah Shabbos. It's the first weekday of the 3 weeks, and it continues until the end of the 3 weeks. But starting from Rosh Chodesh Menachem Av, the beginning of the 9 days, a new list of restrictions are added in addition to the 3-week restrictions. So we have restrictions that are covered for the entire period of 3 weeks, and then we have a smaller list of restrictions that only begin during the 9 days. And it continues to get stronger. When we reach the week of Tisha B'Av, the restrictions strengthen. This year, I don't think we have the week of Tisha B'Av because Tisha B'Av falls on Shabbos again, right? Tisha B'Av falls on Shabbos. So according to the version, we don't have the week of Tisha B'Av. In any event, if we do have the week of Tisha B'Av, it gets stronger, the restrictions, and then the restrictions get even stronger on Erev Tisha B'Av, and then of course they become the strongest on Tisha B'Av itself, and they begin weakening after Tisha B'Av, and then they completely disappear after Chatzos of the 10th day of Menachem Av. This year they disappear on the morning of the 11th of Menachem Av because it's Nidche, so Tisha B'Av actually is on the 10th, which means the day after is the 11th. Okay, with that introduction, let us begin. We're going to give a quick list of customs that begin to apply from the 17th of Tammuz, and we're going to then give a list that only apply from the start of the 3 weeks, and then we'll go through differences in Sephardim and Ashkenazim. So the list of things that begin to apply now for the whole 3 weeks for Ashkenazim is that no weddings for the entire period of 3 weeks, no haircuts for the entire period of 3 weeks, no music or dancing, no shechianu, we don't buy or wear expensive garments, we don't hit even for chinuch purposes.
Liquor? Vodka?
To drink?
Yes.
We didn't mention that. You're never allowed to get drunk. The whole year you're not allowed to get drunk.
No, Shabbos you can drink.
You can have a l'chaim, sure, but to get drunk, you're never allowed to get drunk.
No, not getting drunk, just l'chaim.
Yeah, sure. There's no issue of making l'chaim.
So what about l'chaim in preparation for a wedding? Or
Coming up, we'll go through the details of everything. I'm just giving the list. And the last one is to avoid matters of danger. This is the list of matters that are applicable throughout the entire 3 weeks for Ashkenaz. Starting from the 9 days, we have further restrictions. Number 1, delaying a court case. That's starting from Menachem Av. Number 2, not to buy or sell expensive items of simcha. Number 3 is not to build or renovate one's home for pleasure purposes. Number 4, not to plant for pleasure purposes, to have a nice garden. Number 5, not to eat meat or wine. Number 6, not to do laundry. Number 7, not to wear freshly laundered clothing. Number 8, not to purchase or wear any clothing, new clothing. Number 9, not to bathe or shower. And number 10, not to cut the nails. This list, only after the start of the 9 days. Sephardim. So there's a number of issues that the Sephardim are accustomed to be lenient on, unlike Ashkenaz. These are as follows. The Isser of a wedding, Sephardim only keep starting from the 9 days. They get married till the start of the 9 days. Number 2, cutting the hair.
Engagements?
We'll get to it. Number 2, cutting the hair. The Sephardim only start keeping from the week of Tisha B'Av. Only then are they machmer, from the week of Tisha B'Av. And number 3, buying clothing, they are only machmer from the week of Tisha B'Av. So these are 3 of the major differences in Sephardim and Ashkenazim. There are other differences that are debated, and some Sephardim are custom one way, others are custom another way, and we'll discuss them in each halach as we go through. So let's begin with the first one regarding no weddings. So we're not get married throughout the 3 weeks. This is a halacha in the Mechaber regarding the 9 days, and the Ramadan says, and our custom is throughout the whole 3 weeks that we keep, that we don't get And even though usually we say that if you don't have any children, you didn't fulfill the mitzvah proof, you can get married. In this case, we don't. We don't get married even in such a case. We don't do any weddings. However, an engagement called shidduchim, not chuppah, not erusin, but shidduchim, dating and getting formally engaged, that is completely permitted. There's no problem whatsoever, even on Tisha B'Av itself.
Wow.
Just imagine getting engaged on Tisha B'Av.
When you say getting engaged, you mean the actual proposal day, or you mean the l'chaim part, the l'chaim celebration?
Yeah.
What do we mean by that?
Yeah, you can even have a l'chaim. I mean, you can't serve anything. It's the cheapest engagement party you'll ever have.
Because
You don't have to serve food.
you can serve
On
food.
Tisha B'Av?
No, not Tisha B'Av.
I'm talking about Tisha B'Av.
Oh, you're talking about Tisha B'Av. Okay, but so it's certainly okay.
You can have an engagement. So it's like this. Till the 9 days, you can have mamish an engagement party. You can even have a festive meal. However, once the 9 days begin, you can have an engagement party, but without washing. You can't have a big meal, just, a little bit of eating.
During the 9 days.
Snacking.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So is it recommended not to if you can avoid it though? Not about
No,
the 9 days.
not at all. The
That's
opposite.
fine.
The reason behind this halacha that you're allowed to get engaged is because of the following reason. There is fear that if you delay the engagement, maybe she'll go to somebody else. Maybe someone else will grab her. And then you can lose your zivuk. Even though Hashem decides in heaven, Bas Pleni Lepleni, Bas Pleni Lepleni, Hashem is Yosef and Mezavik Zavugim. Hashem sits and arranges marriages already in heaven. So who's going to go against God? Who can change his decree? There are ways to circumvent God's decree. God created the decree in a way, and it's possible to circumvent him. So it's possible for someone to steal someone else's zivuk. And therefore, if you don't chaperai, and if you don't get moving with the engagement, then, so that's why how serious is we say, even to delay it 3 weeks, we say no. Get engaged right away. Don't delay the engagement. Same thing with getting married. When somebody's engaged, we tell them to get married right away. We tell them not to delay the wedding.
But if you're Ashkenazi, you don't do that during the 3 weeks.
But
if you're Ashkenazi,
correct,
you don't
yes,
do that
that
during
with
the 3
getting
weeks.
married, correct. Just the wedding we don't do, but the engagement is absolutely okay. Now, what happens if you're an Ashkenazi and you're invited to a Sephardi wedding? Sephardim are doing weddings, so you're invited. What do?
You don't want to offend people or something like this. With your friends.
So it's a big machlekes amongst the poskim. Some say, tell your Sephardi neighbors, see you later. Sorry, it's forbidden. We're in Avelis.
But you come in a better from your father, so I have another reason not to do it.
Yeah, you have another issue. But this is an issue similar to your case as well. Poskim bring similar rulings. Second opinion is you can go just for the chuppah. And the third opinion is you can go for the whole thing because it's your friend's simcha. For him, it's mutter. So since for him it's mutter for you to join his simcha. Bottom line is that the way we rule is as follows. You can go to the wedding, you can go to the chuppah if you want to, but if you want to stay for the wedding, you can't stay for the wedding party unless you're a very close friend or relative, and by not staying it'll cause the chassan and kala distress. In such a case where it'll cause them distress, then we say we can be matter it. Let's go to haircuts. It's forbidden to cut the hair throughout the 3 weeks, as we said, according to Ashkenazim. According to the Mechaber, the Sfarim, it's only from the week of Tisha B'Av. This includes body hair. Body hair is included in this prohibition. That's why you start seeing all the beardless Jews, suddenly they become holy, and they all start growing their beard during the 3 weeks. Or during the week of Tisha B'Av for the Sfarim. The reason is based on this. It's forbidden to cut any hair on the body, not just hair of the beard or hair of the head, but even arm hair, any hair of any area of the body is forbidden to be cut during this time. There's one exception, mustache. The mustache hair is permitted to be trimmed in the areas that it interferes with food. Even al pi Kabbalah, a person is not meant to grow mustache hair that interferes with food. That hair gives uniqueness to the klippus, and the Arizal himself would trim it, would cut it off.
Also the nails.
Of course, that's why we cut our nails every Erev Shabbos. Every Erev Shabbos we
Nine
cut our nails.
days. Yeah.
No, during the week of Tishba we don't cut our nails. We'll see.
But to keep us there.
Malasot. It's Avelis. An Avel doesn't cut his nails for 30 days. An Ashkenazi. Sometimes it's a time that you have to let the klippas, have their little bit of attention, otherwise they'll go crazy. So you feed them a little bit. That's how we feed them a little bit. Regarding women, are women allowed to trim or to cut their hair? So this is a major machlekes. It's likewise a machlekes on aveilus of a relative. May a woman trim or cut her hair past the shiva? And the bottom line is that the Ashkenazi custom is to be machner in hair as well. So therefore, Ashkenazi women do not cut their hair starting from the beginning of 3 weeks. This is any body hair, with exception to if it's necessary for either reasons of tznius or reasons of beauty, so they don't be repulsive to their husbands. Those are the cases that it's permitted.
What's permitted? What is it again?
Case A is for reasons of tznius. Let's say she has hair of her head that's sticking out of the sheitel or sticking out of the tichel. That's one reason of permission. Another reason of permission is, let's say she has a shidduch date and she doesn't look good, so she's allowed to straighten up. So to a married woman, the Chazal were very careful that a woman should not look repulsive to her husband. And therefore they allowed many different things for this reason. They allowed a woman to put on makeup and perfume, even while she's a nida. They allowed, they said they're not going to even levatel the merchants who go from city to city and sell perfume and sell makeup, because it's necessary for a woman to be able to look good for her husband. And so therefore, in these cases, as for those purposes, it is permitted for it to be done. Children. Although there's no such thing as children keeping aveilus, a child never has to keep shiva or shleishim. Nonetheless, that's regarding aveilus de yachad. Aveilus de rabbim, we are accustomed for children to keep, and therefore it's forbidden for an adult to cut the hair of a child. So bottom line, based on all this, is that this week everybody should try to get haircuts. Erev Shabbos, the best time. Everyone should try to get a haircut, so they get covered for the next few weeks. Okay, we're going to go now to music and dancing. One may not dance during the 3 weeks. That's the original halacha written in the Poskim. It's written regarding dancing, and from there it became learned that it's likewise forbidden to play music or listen to music. And that's why the custom is that throughout the 3 weeks we do not listen to music, we do not play music, with exception to music that does not involve musical instruments. So a cappella music is permitted, someone singing is permitted. No.
Huh?
No. If it's singing of the mouth, then yes. If it's playing musical instruments, it's musical instruments. No. You're not allowed to listen to musical instruments during 3 weeks. That's the custom of aveilus. We don't listen to musical instruments during 3 weeks.
What kind of music?
Voice. You can listen to Reb Charatanov singing an old niggun on a tape recorder. But you can't listen to nigunim. You can't listen to Avram Fried.
So at that engagement party you have for your daughter, you can't have really music or what?
So for a mitzvah purpose, it's a machlekes. It's a machlekes if it's a sudas mitzvah, like a pidyon ben, a bris milah, a bar mitzvah. L'chaim is not a sudas mitzvah.
So that doesn't count. You can't have music.
Absolutely not. L'chaim is not a sudas mitzvah. No. There's no mitzvah. There's no engagement. It's just preparatory. But if there is a bar mitzvah, pidyon ben, that's a sudas mitzvah. And it's machlekes if you're allowed to have music. Some say yes, some say no.
So that's a reason to postpone l'chaim.
Right. Regarding a musician, there is no problem for a musician to play music, for Goyim, let's say, or for Sfardim, until they are accustomed to to take upon themselves the Yisr.
Meaning perform. You're going to perform.
Perform. He can
Official,
perform. Yeah, he can play
professional
music for them. And the reason is because he's doing it for business. He's not doing it for enjoyment and fun. He's doing it for the sake of parnasa, and therefore it's not considered that he's enjoying himself. He's making money.
But not for Ashkenazim.
No, it's mutter.
No, not to
And
play.
Ashkenaz, no,
not to
of
play
course,
for.
because Ashkenazim aren't allowed to listen.
Right.
So how can you play for them?
Technically, you
You're
could
causing
be.
them
It's
to
up
transgress.
it's up to them. Okay, right. Okay.
Right. Is a person allowed to listen to music for mental health and emotional reasons? Yes. So a lot of people in this generation ask this question. We are the generation of mental health and emotional health, of popping pills, and the answer is yes. Music therapy is no different than any other type of medication or treatment, and therefore if a person is depressed, he's down, he needs it, pasha, to be functioning, to raise his spirits, it's mutter to put on some music, get a few shots of music, and then move on with your day. It's not a heter to listen to it forever. Get your shots in, get yourself back to action, and then turn it off. Also, someone exercising who needs music to get his body moving, then it's mutter, as the purpose of the music is not for simcha, but it's rather to get into a rhythm of running. So too, if there's music being played in an area against your will, you have no issur against entering inside, such as a bus, a mall, a store. There's no issur to not enter into the place because they're playing music. This, by the way, is also for an aval during the year of Avelis, as he did not turn it on.
A musical festival, that happens when you have a secular government,
Correct.
musical festivals and
Yes.
stuff. So you don't have to like worry about walking far away from them.
Right.
Okay.
Regarding Shabbos itself, it's permitted in honor of Shabbos to dance as Einik Shabbos, so especially if that's what's accustomed to be done, then you're not allowed to show any Avelis on Shabbos, and therefore it's definitely not an issue. Shechianu, we're moving on to Shechianu. It is proper to beware not to say Shechianu during the 3 weeks. This halach is recorded in the Mechaber, so it applies to everybody, Ashkenazim and Sephardim. Now, what's the reason? Why should one not say Shechianu? So most people mistakenly think that the reason is because an aval is not allowed to say Shechianu. So since an aval during the year of during Shiva, Shloshim can't say Shechianu, so we're in Avelis for the Bais HaMikdash, we also don't say Shechianu. What's the problem with that line of reasoning? The basis is not correct. In aval is permitted to say Shechianu, even on the day of Shiva, even on the first day of Shiva. If he got a new fruit, he's allowed to say Shechianu. There's absolutely no source for prohibiting an aval from saying Shechianu. It is not correct. It's not accurate. So why then do we say here that they shouldn't say Shechianu? We shouldn't say Shechianu in 3 weeks. It's a different reason. Says the Magen Avram. The reason is because what are you saying in the pasuk, in the bracha? Thank you, Hashem, for bringing me to this time. This is a good time for Klal Yisrael. So 3 weeks. You're saying, Hashem, this is a good time. We shouldn't want this to happen. So therefore, it's not proper to say these words, and that's why we beware from saying.
But it's going to be a celebration.
You're right. So when Mashiach comes, not only will we be able to listen to music, we will also say Shechianu. I agree with you.
We can say
If Mashiach comes during the 3 weeks, you can say Shechianu. You don't have to start interrogating him. Well, did you officially come yet? Because if we're still in Galus, I can't say Shechianu yet. So, did you officially come yet? Did you not officially come? Once the Galus is over, you can say Shechianu in the Geula, even during 3 weeks, 100%. On Shabbos itself, can you say Shechianu? The answer is it's a machlekes, and our custom is that we do not do so.
But we have in 3 weeks, we have the Aruch outside.
Yes.
During the outside, we have all kinds of food which is being served. And it's in the outside, it's a Yuda, it's a Simcha day.
Yeah.
So maybe on that day we can say Shechianu.
But if the Arizal himself did not say Shechianu on the day of his yahrzeit, how can we?
On the day of his yahrzeit.
How we can say Shechianu if he's dead?
The Arizal's alive. The Arizal is called Ariach Chai.
So
You
the food
understand the
tent.
question?
Rabbi Kaplan has a big food tent, but there's no music at all.
But the Ariyat
Doesn't matter. You cannot break the minhag. The Ari will not be happy if you break halacha due to his yahrzeit. Rabbi wants people to follow halacha on his yahrzeit, not to break it. Okay, clothing. Just like we don't recite Shechianu over fruits, we also don't recite Shechianu over clothing during the 3 weeks. Meaning, even those who are accustomed till today to recite Shechianu over new clothing, like expensive new clothing, don't do so during the 3 weeks.
Because of the general reason you just said, not
Exactly.
the same reason. Because it's not a occasion we're happy to have reached.
Exactly.
Now, what was the reason we say Shechianu or don't say Shechianu? What's the other reason we don't say Shechianu then?
There is no other reason. That is the only reason.
No, not this time.
The negated reason?
Yeah, that we don't say Shechianu in a normal situation. We wouldn't say Shechianu. Isn't there a norm?
On clothing?
Oh, no, I guess you're just saying all the times you don't say Shechianu during a mourning period, it's all because of this reason. A mourning period or a real
Meaning
mourning.
the mourning period of the 3 weeks, but during mourning for a relative, you do say Shechianu. It's mutter.
Why do you?
There's no reason to say it's usher. I don't have to give you a reason why it's mutter. Give me a reason why it's usher.
Because you're not happy to have reached this occasion.
But it's not. It's a personal occasion, not an occasion of Klal Yisrael.
Okay, but still personal. How much more
so? It's an event because it's not an occasion of time. It's an event. 3 weeks. This time period has been set on calendar for all the Jewish people as a bad time.
Okay.
The time period of Avelus is 1 year. It ends. It's over. It's not permanent.
Mm-hmm.
Even for you.
The earthquake. Here.
Right, it happened. When did it happen?
3 weeks.
When during 3 weeks?
Last week.
Last year? Oh, I'm talking about the real earthquake. That was baby stuff. The real earthquake was in 1837.
No, that was on Kaftalet Tevis.
Kaftalet Tevis? Kaftalet Tevis.
Yeah, that was last.
Wow.
Okay. There's 2 earthquakes here. Bigger.
Buying, we don't have a lot left. Let's finish this and then we can start. We can learn a little bit about the other items. Buying and wearing and making new clothing during the 3 weeks. So it's as follows. Buying new clothing is permitted during the 3 weeks so long as the clothing don't need a shechianu. Meaning if it's not expensive clothing, it's not like you're not buying a sirtuk or a kapata, you're not buying a wedding gown, you're not buying something too expensive, just simple stuff, a shirt, a pair of pants, a talis katan, all that is mutter. We don't say shechianu on that. The isra of buying any clothing only begins the 9 days. Till the 9 days, it is permitted to be done. The same thing is regarding wearing new clothing. The only issue there is with wearing new clothing is regarding new clothing that needs a shechianu. But new clothing that doesn't need a shechianu, simple clothing, a shirt, a pair of pants, simple stuff, undergarments, have no problem whatsoever. You're allowed to wear during the 9 days, even if they're new. There is no prohibition in mending clothing on a woman sewing or fixing clothing during the 3 weeks. Only during the 9 days the Isra begins, but during 3 weeks it's mutter.
Spending money for the future after the 3 weeks.
What's the problem?
Like for trip, for vacation, during the 3 weeks.
Yeah, what's the problem? You're allowed to, we're going to get to buying. Can you buy stuff during the 3 weeks?
Also in new.
Right, so there's.
Future.
I understand. Oh, we just said before, it's even mutter. It's mutter unless it's a shechianu item. If it's a shechianu item, like an expensive item, then no, you shouldn't buy during 3 weeks. But if it's a simple, non-expensive item, then you have till Rish Chodesh Av. You have till the start of the 9 days to buy.
Just like seeing in order, not buying.
I understand, but the problem, so the question here is that is there a kinyan?
Yeah.
Has a kinyan been made? And the answer is that a kinyan has been made, but not on the exact item yet. I don't know what I'm going to receive. So, I think I wrote about this in my file. It's not. I don't think it's in the book. I have to look what I wrote, but I think my miskana was that it's mutter.
Yeah. There's some more reasons why to postpone a l'chaim engagement party because you people
buy a
dress, and a man wants to buy a new pair or whatever. Yeah, and those are shechianu items, right? A new dress, fancy new dress.
Fancy new dress, yeah, it could be very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yes, they're very expensive.
Other items, a person allowed to buy a new talis during 3 weeks. The answer is talis katan up to the 9 days is mutter. Talis gadol we don't buy during 3 weeks. Buying items other than clothing is permitted without a problem until the 9 days. Even during the 9 days, the inexpensive items are allowed to be purchased. We only avoid purchasing expensive items. Inexpensive items are not a problem at all. All house appliances that are necessary, such as a fridge, washing machine, couch, you can purchase throughout the 3 weeks. It is not a problem. Okay, walking alone. It's written in the Shulchan Aruch that from the 17th of Tammuz to the 9th of Av, meaning throughout the 3 weeks, one is to beware not to walk by himself between the 4th and 9th hour of the day. Not supposed to walk by yourself between the 4th and 9th hour of the day. That is, let's say if now sunrise is at 6, so that's about from 9 o'clock until 12 o'clock. You shouldn't walk alone.
Why?
There's a very dangerous demon that walks around.
The 3 weeks, all 3 weeks now?
All 3 weeks.
What dangerous one?
Ketiv Meriri.
At night or in the day?
Day.
Day?
Yeah. You want me to tell you about him? I don't want you to get scary nightmares at night. Are you brave enough to hear?
I don't know. It sounds like outside of Eretz Israel. Eretz Israel is pretty safe.
Eretz Yisrael. This guy walks everywhere. Ketiv Meriri is the name of a creature which is filled with eyes and klippos and hair. He has one eye by his chest.
So what
If
do you have
one
to do
even
in
looks
3
at
weeks?
him, he can't live.
Mm.
Well, it comes out especially to visit in 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Leaves you alone if you're with somebody else?
Yeah. If he's with somebody else, he doesn't start up with 2 people. So this only applies in like an empty area, in a field, in a deserted area. But if you're in the city,
Oh,
it's
a lot
not
of
a
people
problem.
around. A lot of people around. They don't take hikes in the forest in those hours of the
that's
3
the
weeks.
reason
Well,
you're
and,
not allowed to take hikes.
You shouldn't take hikes during this time, correct? In the 4th and 9th hour of the day, you should not go anywhere alone, to any outside area alone. No outside excursions by yourself. Also, another halacha brought down, walking in the shade. From the 17th until the 9th of Av, one is to beware not to walk in the border area between the shade and the sunlight between the 4th and 9th hour of the day. There too, this is again about Ketiv Meriri. He's also found in that area. It's a spiritual, by the way. It's not a physical person. That means that in the boarding area between the shade, a shadow, and the sun, it says a person shouldn't walk in that area between the 4th and 9th hour of the day. Hitting children, even those who give patches to their kids for the sake of chinuch, it's mutter. Nonetheless, during the 3 weeks, the custom is that one is to beware not to hit his children because of sakana. That's the minhag, and the children always knew that when the 3 weeks begin, they have the upper hand on their parents and on their cheder melamed. The cheder melamed, all he can do is he can snarl and show anger, but he can't pick up the whip and hit them. But after the 3 weeks, it's a different question. Then we'll get back. We'll have the whole reshima of everything. Okay, we avoid doing dangerous activity during the 3 weeks, and therefore, while there's no issur to go swimming till the start of the 9 days, many avoid going swimming in dangerous areas.
If someone needs for refuah.
Until the start of the 9 days, there's no issur to go swimming at all, for refuah or for pleasure. It's mutter. Okay, and during the 9 days, even for refuah, it's mutter. But even on Tisha B'Av, it's mutter for refuah. But let's say to go swimming in a dangerous beach, one should avoid. Even the Kinneret, we look at the Kinneret like a little baby beach, no problem. No, it's one of the most dangerous beaches in Israel.
Really?
Sure, absolutely. Many deaths, many drownings every year in the Kinneret.
What happens there? They're not riptide.
They have rip currents. They're rip currents.
Really?
It doesn't take that much for a body of water to have drowning capabilities. It really doesn't. You don't have to be the Atlantic or Pacific. Yeah.
Close to the shore, huh? That's the problem.
The case that just happened now to Rabbi Reuven Bauman in Virginia was a rip current.
Yeah, that was.
I trained as a lifeguard to deal with rip currents. And rip currents are very dangerous. They're on a lot of beaches, and most people have no clue about them. Most people that go swimming on the beach don't even know where rip current is, and they definitely don't have the experience of how to swim out of one. And you really don't swim out of one. You don't panic. You let it take you out to sea. You do as much as you can to try to tread to the side so you get out of the current of the rip. But even if you can't, you don't worry because it's going to end eventually. And when it ends, you just swim back to shore.
It can be very far. It can take you very far.
That's most people panic. What happens is that people panic. You start fighting the rip current, and you're not going to win. Impossible. You're not going to win the rip current. And water enters your mouth, and that's how people drown. What you have to do is be calm. Go for a little back ride. It'll take you in the middle of the ocean. You'll swim back.
Far swim. That's going to be pretty scary.
Yeah, but you'll live.
Pretty scary to swim far away, right?
It happens all the time.
It's scary, but I'm just saying that you have to know how to. Bottom line is that rip currents there's different beaches have different levels of rip currents, but you have to be very careful, and therefore, I think personally, before anyone's taken to a beach, they should be trained how to deal with a rip current.
Aren't there lifeguards aren't there a warning system to say there's rip currents?
Well, this mainly happens in areas without lifeguards. In areas with lifeguards, lifeguards are trained to deal with this and to, but without a lifeguard.
Don't we know when they're coming?
Don't
we know when they're coming? It's a riptide day?
You can't predict them.
Really?
Certain beaches have them more than others. You can't predict them. But we know there's certain, for example, the city will not set up a beach in an area that's known for rip currents. We think that, there's just no lifeguard there, so let's go swimming. You don't understand. There's a reason why this has been segregated from becoming a public beach. Mm-hmm. Often it's because it's a dangerous shore. There's a lot of rip currents in the shore. When people call me up for shilas if they can toivel in a mikveh in the beach, couples who are in areas without any mikvahs. So the first thing I always tell them, you have to verify with people in the community a safe area in the beach that you can go. That's the first and foremost. For any other question, you have to make sure that there's a safe area by the beach that you can go and there's no chashash of rip currents. So bottom line, during the 3 weeks, one is to especially be careful about this. So too regarding trips and traveling, minadin it's mutter, but once again, especially if it's for necessity purposes, but nonetheless, we try to avoid any outages that could be dangerous, could be hazardous. We avoid doing it during the 3 weeks, like such also a surgery. If it's not urgent, we try to push it off to after the 3 weeks, etc. Moving homes, we try not to move homes until Tu B'Av, when the mazel gets better. Till Chamish Asar B'Av, we try to avoid moving homes during the 3 weeks. We'll conclude with we have two conclusions. The first is a statement of the Arizal, who says that one is to be accustomed to mourn and cry over the Churban HaMikdash for a half hour or more every day during the 3 week period.
Which one is more important?
This is the day. This is daytime. Daytime.
What about Tikkun Rachel and Tikkun Leah?
No, so it says here. Some say you don't do Tikkun Rachel. You do instead Tikkun Chatzais during the day instead of at night. Bottom line is that you do both. You do Tikkun Chatzais at night and you do Chatzais during the day.
So what is Tikkun Rachel and Tikkun Leah?
Some say you do Tikkun Rachel at this time. You say Tikkun Rachel by the day.
Day or the night?
The day.
How long Tikkun Chatzos is supposed to take?
I don't know. We don't do it.
Huh?
We don't do it.
So why it wasn't after receiving?
They used to. Everybody used to do it.
So what happened?
We discussed in the shir a number of months ago. The custom changed. Bottom line is that it's a proper custom. It says that mourning the destruction of the temple during this time by Chatzais, by midday, it sweetens the gvurus and it benefits the soul. Chatzais. Halachic Chatzais. Nothing to do with mincha.
What time is it today?
12:35. 12:40.
It's not convenient for everybody's.
Let's hear what it does for us.
Schedule.
Let it do for us.
Give us more leniency.
The Arizal lives right here. Speak to him. I can't change what he wrote.
But he understands our
Learning the laws of Bais of the temple. This is our last halakha, concluding with it today. The Medrash says, and the Rabbi prolificated this, that when we study the laws of the Beis Hamikdash, its structure and vessels, Hashem views it as if we're building the Mikdash.
So what kind of
and therefore, Hashem, and therefore the Rebbe instructed us that especially during the 3 weeks we should be involved in learning Hilchos Bais HaBechira, the laws of the building of the temple that's found in the Rambam, Shnais Maseches Midas, and in many other svarim that have been written and compiled on the subject. And by doing so, it's considered that we've built a Beis HaMikdash. What you can do is, by Chatzais, is the perfect time to learn, take out a Beis HaBechira, learn a halacha.
Midday sleep.
Midday.
Midday, okay,
Yeah.
that sounds easier.
Yeah.
What about at night? What's a good time?
We don't do anymore. At Chabad, we don't do.
Nobody does?
You,
What's the reason?
I don't know. Look at my book. It's in my book. Awaken Like a Jew, chapter 2.
But what was the stage they decided to stop?
Lat, you read this Adiris. We're not on the level anymore. We're not on the level.
you were saying though before Menachem wanted to clarify the midday time. You were saying that the soul, that's something good for the soul when you do the
I said, the Rizal says that it's mamtik the grus, it sweetens the severities,
Yeah.
and it's extremely beneficial for the neshama. The neshama is in Avedus, the neshama is sad. So we need something to revive the neshama, to give it life. And this sweetens the neshama.
The learning of the learning of, and what else do you do?
The morning, the destruction of the temple by Chatzos.
Oh, morning. Okay. And we want to keep this on for the next part? Want to keep it going?
What's that?
Want to keep it going for the next part?
Okay,
You stop.
We're going to do we're going to do a little bit about the
Well,
previous revenue.
bring it. What's there?
I don't know.
You want a little bit of the wine? Crackers?
Do we have anything non-alcoholic? Anything non-alcoholic? What is that? No, I mean drink, non-alcoholic drinks.
And then in the stream.
We have crackers.